Welcome one and all to the Mudai Manga Book Club podcast. Today is March 19th, 2025, episode 8, Death by Dugong on the Docks with the Drawers. My name is Louie, and apparently I'm the serious one, and I'm joined by my co-host...
Sorry, I was trying to finish one more book so I can make my reading list a little bit longer.
Tom. So for anyone who hasn't...
wait, you mean me? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the show.
So for anyone who hasn't listened to us before, we cover three main topics every week. At first, we'll talk about things we've been listening to, things we've been reading, things we've been enjoying. Then we have two other topics. We're going to do a Name That Isekai game, where I'm going to have Tom play a game to see if he can guess the Isekai game. Not the Isekai game, the Isekai story that I'm thinking of. And then we're also going to review Boiled Cop and Dolphin, volumes 1 to 2.5. So halfway through the whole story.
Mm-hmm. It's going to cover up to about chapter 22.
Yeah, because I think there's 5 volumes.
There are 5 volumes in total.
Yep.
Thank you for spoiling it.
Oh, well, yeah, halfway through would be.
Yeah. So anyway, what have you been up to for the 2 weeks since you decided to, take a vacation?
Yes. I have actually read quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Not the most.
You don't say.
Quite a bit. So, first I read through Neo Genesis Evangelion, the Shinji Ikari Raising Project, Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of more the same. The story is progressing very slowly, but it's just more of, hey, Shinji, Asuka, Rei just get into more crazy shenanigans with all of the experiments they're doing. Ikari does even weirder things, being the dad and being the head of the whole project, but of course they do a beach episode. Or
oh god, yes.
Beach
I'm surprised
chapter.
it took them this long.
He was going to wear his usual clothing to the beach. Okay. So it was like, everyone loves a turtleneck and suit and everything. It's like, it's very SPF conscious. It protects me from the sun. And they're like, no. The wife's like, you gotta go change. so he comes out like typical like beachwear, sandals, shorts, and t-shirts. This is very uncomfortable, and it's very weird. And then also kind of the crazy shenanigans go on at the beach, and then they do another one of these scenes. So one of the things that's going on in the background that kind of comes up in a bunch of the story is that someone's trying to hack into their system and kind of figure out what they're doing, like to steal all their research.
Yep.
So Ikari's away, and they're like, oh, we're under attack. Not like physical attack, but our computers are all being hacked by viruses. So, what are we going to do? We're losing everything. It's like, we got to think of something. We're just going to shut down everything and just stop. Mm-hmm. But it's like, we'll lose so much research by doing this. So then Ikari just comes bounding. It's like, I'm back. I know the solution. It's a virus, bacteria stuff. So I will solve it. So he runs down to the server room, and you see him put on a pest control suit. And he's just going around spraying all the computers with disinfectants. Like, I get rid of all the viruses and bacteria. And somehow it works.
Of course it does.
And all the viruses go away. It's like, this is the most random story when he's around, and it's hilarious. But yeah. But the overall story is like slowly progressing, like slowly doing more research. It's fun, but it's mostly just a huge slice of life goof manga with Shinji just getting into these weird little mix-ups with Rei and Asuka, and like they have feelings for each other, but no one wants to say anything, and like they're trying to be like, okay, who is Shinji gonna pick? And they're kind of competing with each other, kind of just like they don't want to upset the apple cart kind of thing. But yeah, it's fun. I've now read halfway through. I think there's 6 omnibus volumes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 more. So I'll pick those up eventually. And then I did the Mushoku Tensei Volume 5, the light novel. This is a good one. It actually has a lot of progress to the overall story. They've now reached a new continent, and he finds his dad, who you learn a lot, but it's more of when he got transported to the demon continent, everyone else in that region of the country also got transported. They got scattered throughout the world.
Okay.
And you learn what happened to other people. The dad was with one of the main character's sisters.
Okay.
Because they were, he was carrying her. They got transported together and ended up not incredibly far away, but enough where it took them a few months to get home. Mm-hmm. But then you hear about all these stories about other people who either had the same problem or were transported even farther away or were transported into a place they couldn't survive. Mm-hmm. And then the dad has been going around trying to bring people home with help of the Adventurers Guild and other people. And it's a lot of the interaction of when they finally meet.
Okay.
And how the dad had such high expectations for the main character. The main character's like, well, I didn't think of looking for other people on my way back. And them just kind of coming to terms with the dad had such high a bar for the son to be at. Mm. But then he realized, well, while he is in his 40s mentally, he's still like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And the demon continent is not the easiest thing in the world anyways. It's just like, you have to just be happy he's alive. And that's kind of what happens. It's the interaction between them that's most of the volume.
Okay.
But it's good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really got to sit down and start reading it because it's supposed to be really good.
It's really good. I think I'm not even a quarter of the way through it yet.
No, I think I forget how many, but I think it's 26 books.
I think so. Yeah, and the 26th one just came out.
Yeah.
And then read Bakemonogatari, Volume 1, Monster Tale, Part 1. It's a light novel. It's, for the most part, 2 short stories. It's hard to explain. It's a supernatural story about a guy in high school, or a senior in high school, roughly, 3rd year, in the Japanese school system. He was attacked by a vampire, and he is just kind of helping people who get into trouble. And the first one is a girl who has lost the ability to, I guess, be affected by gravity is the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, she has no weight.
Yeah, not that she's incredibly skinny.
Yeah.
It's just that she's the same. If you look at her, she looks like a normal person, but when she steps on a scale, she, I think, weighs 5 kilograms.
Yep.
So she weighs nothing and thus interacts with the world like nothing. Like, wearing clothes is incredibly heavy for her and things like that. But the whole point of the story is they just have these crazy banters between each other because they're almost very different personalities because of what they've gone through. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then the second story kind of feeds on that because it's the two of them, again, trying to help out another person who's having an issue. But that person...
Don't spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it.
Don't spoil it.
It's really important. Yeah.
I can explain it like this because this is... I've read it a few times. It's one of my favorite stories. So the second story is about, I think it's a few weeks later.
Yeah.
And the boy's out there and he ends up meeting a 5th grader girl. Mm-hmm. So someone like 11 or 12. And then several of his other friends end up passing by, including the girl from the first chapter and one of his other friends from the first chapter he've already met, who's like the student council president. Yep. And he ends up trying to help this 5th grader get home.
Yes.
But instead of all the banter being between the two main characters from the first story, it's between him and each of these other different characters at one point along this story.
Yes.
And that doesn't change as it goes forward.
But it's really good. There is an anime for it, but it's like 2 short stories. It's a decent sized novel. It's a light novel, 200 and something not 200. 200-something pages.
I believe a better term is they're novella length. They're not short stories. They're not like 10 or 15 pages. They're like
that's true.
80 to 100 pages each. They're sizable.
They're sizable stories. But there's 2, and you have to read them in order or else you'll be confused.
Yes.
But it's good. But it's about supernatural, not quite like solving supernatural issues, but about dealing with them. Yeah. But it's good.
Also good for you doing the smart thing and reading in publishing order and not chronological order, because that's the right way to do it. I say, having not read the actual chronologically first story yet, but...
yes.
People who say that, no, read it in publishing order. That's how that author wrote it. Read it in that order.
Yeah. It was a little confusing. It's like, that time I got attacked by a vampire, and then it's always just that time I got attacked by a vampire, and he never goes into detail about it.
I will explain for people who are listening. It's not really a spoiler for like the beginning, but there is one that was released later called, I believe it's Bakemonogatari, which is the story of what happened with the vampire, because in the first several books it's talked about, and it's how the main character sort of got caught up in these supernatural things, but it's always talked about as it happened the vampire and the other effects that I have, that they talk about it as they have happened, and there are effects from it still felt throughout the whole story, but it's never really explained what happened until later on he wrote a book about that first chapter. And some people say that, oh, you should read that because that's the first part. And it's like, no, you don't need to read that first. You can read that later.
Yeah.
Because they talk about it, but
you don't really need to know it.
It just is the explanation for why he can do the weird things that he can do, just like everyone else has the weird things that they can do.
Yep.
Fantastic story.
Yep. And then I'm
read also the one who led the book.
Yes. Thank you. What's the next one?
Bakemonogatari Monster Tale Part 2.
Okay,
and
so
then
it's
there's a
the
Part
same.
3.
Okay.
Yes. Bakemonogatari in Japanese was released in 2 parts. When they translated it to English, they shuffled them around. Book 1 was the first 3 stories, and Book 2 was the the last 2 stories. In English, it's the first 2 stories, the second 2 stories, and then the last story in Bakemonogatari. And then the title changes, and I don't remember which one is next.
Okay, so it's 5 stories, and then it goes the next part in the series.
Yeah. There's about 20 novel-length books published.
I think so,
and they are all something monogatari, but the first set is Bakemonogatari, and it is 5 of these novella-type stories. In English, it's 3 books.
Yeah, part 1, part 2, part 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Next thing I read is The Westing Games. This actually is an English book. Came out in the 1970s. I had never read it, so I finally read it. It is a classic. It won awards way back. It's a mystery novel. It's based on the idea of someone dies, has a crazy will that makes people try to figure out who murdered me, and it's a big mystery. I don't want to spoil anything because it's really important that you go in knowing nothing.
Okay.
So there's no detective. It's all of these people who could win money are trying to solve the mystery, and then some stuff happens, and it's really interesting to see if you can piece it together, because at the end you know what happened, and there are clues. Thinking back, once you've read, it's like, oh, if I had picked up on that, that was important. But then there's also a ton of, that wasn't important. That was just a thing that happened. And it's really good.
Okay.
But that's definitely one you don't want to go in knowing the answer, because, like, okay, well, the whole mystery is ruined then.
Yeah, makes sense. Sounds good.
That's good. And then I finally saw the Knives Out movie.
The original?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
I liked it.
Oh, my God.
I went in thinking it was more comedic than it was.
Oh, yeah. It's got funny parts, but it's not a funny movie.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things was my misconception. I thought it was going to be more of a funny mystery movie than a serious mystery movie.
Yeah.
Just based on the trailers and things like that. It's good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a more serious murder mystery. Like, the twists and turns in it were really good. It's like, oh, I didn't pick up on that, or things like that. Definitely a good mystery.
Yep. And I will say, as someone who saw it, it does have some very funny moments. And I can understand, like, how some of it was presented, where it's like, oh, this is going to be like a Clue or like a Pink Panther type mystery. But it's like, no, this is a serious, like, brutal murder case in a couple of places. And it gets real heavy sometimes. But it is a great mystery movie with a great mystery that will keep you entertained when you don't know what's happening. And when you watch it again, there's so many little things in that movie that are Easter eggs or nods to what's happening, or things that are changed ever so slightly, that if you know what you're looking for, you'll be like, oh, that was a thing. Oh, that was a thing. Like the portrait in the house, in like the beginning, it's just there and it's there. In the last scene, it's been changed ever so slightly so that he's smiling.
Okay, so I wouldn't have caught that if the first time I saw it.
Yeah, you won't. That's like one of like 100 different things that they did this for. That was one of the things that made Knives Out. People thought more of Knives Out than Glass Onion, which was its sequel. I don't know if the other sequels come out yet. They're supposed to be making a third.
I don't think so.
But Knives Out, they spent a lot of time burying all these little details and weird things in the movie that are either like movie tricks that, like, if you've seen it, you can like watch out for it and be like the little smile at the end in the portrait, or parts of the mystery that are just like placed in there for when you already know what it is, for you to watch for and see. So it's a very good movie for like second and repeat viewings because they put so much effort into the movie itself.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to watch it again then.
Yeah.
Just to see what I can pick up. Yeah. No, it was good. It is a serious
Very
movie.
serious.
Yeah. It's not like a dark noir kind of mystery. It's I forget where it takes place.
New England, I think.
I think it is New England, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good. And there's a lot of famous people in it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's very good. It was done very well.
The detective, the guy who plays
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, yes. James Bond as the Southern lawyer is so good.
Yeah.
He's so good at it. Oh, it's great.
That's really good. And then I finally read Shangri-La Frontier number 19, Woo! Where they finally meet Katarna.
Yeah.
And all the craziness that's going to ensue from that.
Oh,
that was really good. I want to know what happens next. And I don't know if they've said when Volume 20 is coming out yet.
Probably not, but they announced Volume 19 like a month before it came out, so it's probably going to just drop suddenly. It's
probably going to be April-ish, I would say.
That's fine. That's not that far.
That's fine with me. It's like, it's really good, and I want to know what happens next with Katarna. Yeah. It's like, this is going to be a major story moment, and it's like, how is this going to progress since they've beaten the Colossus out of order?
Yeah, I feel like after this, Katarna is supposed to be the first Colossus.
This is supposed to be the easy one.
It's also supposed to be the first one. Mm-hmm. So I think it's also going to be like a lot of stuff is going to start making sense after it, and I'm like really curious to see about that.
Yeah.
But also just the weird reversal powers. I know I already talked about it when I brought it up. It's like, there's so much fun stuff in it that happens. It's such a great one. And like the stat swap and the equipment swap and stuff. It's like, oh, this is so cool.
And then the color change swap. I wish they had kept that going and then just done like almost like a whole page like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like where they were just reversed all the colors so everything that was white is black on the page. It's like, it looks so freaky. But then it switched it right back. No, it's really cool. It's a cool fight. I definitely want to know what happens next, especially because it's a game. You get to see the behind the scenes, and I kind of want to see how they start reacting with all the Colossus going down as well.
Yeah, the developers and things. Yeah. Because that was another great set of scenes after Weatherman.
Yeah. And then I read Frontier Lord Begins with Zero Subjects, the 7th volume of the manga.
So what was that one covering?
That one covered him now becoming a duke.
Oh, okay.
He became a duke, and he's trying to come up with a name for his family. He learns about what's going on inside the kingdom. Oh, he gets sick, and the twins heal him with that famous medicine.
The Sanjival, or whatever it's called, the herb. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's really good. It's still really good. Can't wait to see what happens next. And then I read Volume 2 and 3 of My Quiet Blacksmith Life in Another World. And it's good. It's more of, okay, we're making our little group a little bigger. You see more of the kingdom. You've now seen, he actually goes out and is involved with some royal squabbles because of some of the people he's met already. And he meets a famous adventurer where he creates the best quality weapons for. And then he meets a princess in disguise who he has to protect and deal with assassinations of a family and trying all those intrigue issues. And then it kind of ends with the princess now also joining their little group of blacksmithing buddies.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I think I have the 4th volume is out now. Can't remember if the 5th volume of the manga is out. There's quite a few of the light novel.
There's 9. The 10th one is coming out in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm caught up on reading those. It's good.
Yep. So that's what I got up to in the last 2 weeks.
Nice. That's a respectable amount.
Yes.
That's a reasonable amount.
So what have you read in the last week?
That is a slightly above average, but overall slightly normal
nothing
amount.
Compared to what you have.
I read a couple of things. I read a few things. So Cypher Academy 5 is it's really good. It's really good. So they have book 5 covers the end of the interclass tournament to decide who is gonna be. I forget what the specific term is, but basically who's going to be like the equivalent of student council president, but it's like a military term, and it's like
the captain.
Yeah, it's not even like captain. It's like there is like lead private for like in class groups, and then class leading private for the leader of the class, and then there's like
squad leader,
lieutenant general something, and then like it's not that. It's like the top one, which is like military emperor or something. It's this very fancy sounding title. And so that ends, and they begin the process of going for the 50 billion morgue that's buried in the school, because now that that's been decided, they can start working on that project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's begun, and it's interesting. There's some good puzzles in it, but there's a pretty good chunk where like the puzzles kind of stop for a bit and they're just sort of figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
It's great. It's still absolutely wonderful. Characters are fun. It feels like it is going towards the end, because I think it's only 7 books.
Yeah.
And this definitely feels like the last part of it, and it's just great. It's fantastically well written. The art's good. I kind of want to know what's going on, and I'm just waiting for the next one. So yeah, book 5, great.
Nice.
But I can't explain anything more than that without spoiling tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Then I read Management of a Novice Alchemist Volume 4. This is another like just fun little story about an alchemist. I've talked about it a couple times before, I think, at least once before. An alchemist in a world where alchemists are a thing, but they're sort of just like item shop people, but they make all kinds of crazy stuff. This book was actually really good, because every other one has been monster is attacking our village in the middle of nowhere, or we need to go defeat monster near the village for reasons. And this one takes a very different tack, where 2 of the helpers go on a mission to help a researcher who comes by.
Okay.
And they're going off and doing research on the monster they killed in the last book.
Yeah, okay.
And then some stuff happens, and they get buried underground. And the huge dramatic arc of this novel is they're buried underground and a 2 days walk away from the village, but they planned ahead, so they have communication. And so the alchemist is like at home in the village trying to find things that they can make or do to help them, while the 3 of them are like working through a cave system and like trying to escape.
Okay.
It goes from like fantasy monster battle to like natural disaster survival series all of a sudden, and it's actually a lot of fun. So that's been great.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I decided to buy the entire rest of Eden Zero and read volumes 7 to 30 in 2.5 days.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Eden Zero is it's pretty good. I really like it.
Honestly, I wasn't expecting you to like it this much, that you would read it all immediately.
The 2 things was this, is I enjoyed it, and it's like, I'll just get some more. And then I think I bought like up to 10, and then I'm like, I'm just getting the rest of the series. I think it was also on sale.
Oh, maybe.
So it was like, I'm going to end up reading all of this anyway. Just let me just get caught up. And I really like it. It's a lot of fun. The characters are great. The art is great. Everything about it is a lot of fun. It's got its dark moments. It's got its humorous moments. It's got a time skip.
Yes, it does.
It's got a bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to talk about because there are spoilers everywhere. The plot is not like clamped tight, but there's a lot of cool things that were always hinted at through the whole time. There's a lot of stuff that comes back that they talked about earlier. All these characters come and interact in this neat way. The whole thing that happens that lets them get to the universe that Mother is in is a really cool idea, and the story is all really great, and I want to know what happens, and I kind of don't like it as much as I thought I would. It's totally on, because here's what it is, and I can't talk about what bothers me without spoiling a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I could say is this. Everything about the story is on theme, and I feel like there was something, we as people reading it, there's things that happen where it's like, oh man, it would be so awesome if this had happened instead. And this story figures out a way to pull some of those things that like we were like, oh, I really wish this had happened instead. Finds a way to pull that off in a way that's really good and doesn't undercut its own narrative doing it. But now that that's happened, I'm kind of like, it was more dramatic when things didn't go right, though.
Yes, that's what always happens.
I will be okay with however this ends. I think wherever all of this goes, I'm going to have enjoyed it. But I think at the end of the day, I would have preferred it. I think I would have enjoyed the story as a story more if it didn't do what it did with the last arc, even though the last arc is absolutely brilliant and really good, just it's narratively sensible, it's logically sensible, and it doesn't take away anything that's happened, but I don't feel as fulfilled as I would if that hadn't happened. But at the same time, I don't think any other story is going to pull all of this off as well. So it's still really amazing that he did this, and I'm super glad with it. But I think ultimately, as much as I think it's great, I just don't like it as much as I would expect for how good I think it is.
Okay.
It's like seeing someone who's the most talented painter you've ever seen do their most amazing painting ever. And it's like, yeah, that's really incredible, but like, I don't really like blue. Like, there's a lot of blue in it. Blue's not really my color. This is stupid. I should like this more. But I kind of just don't. And I'm at the age and having read enough that I'm like, I'm just going to accept that this is what my feelings are and say, this is really good and you should read it because it's amazing. You will never find another story that does this so well. But it's probably not making my top 5 this year. It might.
Okay. Well,
it has a chance, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't either.
The story is over. It's done.
Yes, I know it's over.
There's 3 volumes left. They haven't come out in English.
Yep.
The last one comes out in September.
I am absolutely, like, the moment they drop, I'm absolutely going to read them, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried not to spoil it myself, so I don't know if people like the ending or not. So we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. I think overall it's an incredibly well-created piece of work, and I love it, but I like it less than I thought I would for completely unimportant reasons.
Okay.
But it's really good. You should think of it as like, imagine 2 people made the greatest movies of all time. One in a genre you like, one in a genre you don't like. You're going to like the one in the genre you like more. Not because it's better, it's just that's what you like. And it's like that kind of a feeling is why I'm not so gobsmacked by Eden Zero, even though I think it's absolutely incredible.
Okay.
I keep feeling like, I don't know. I did read 26 books of it in 2 days.
See, that's a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, after that, I read Coppersmith Bride 5.
Okay.
That's really good.
I haven't read it yet.
It almost feels like there's starting to be a narrative.
Okay, it's not just...
But it might just be like an extended story. It's not really like an actual through line. It's just a project is being started that's going to take them a while. And like you're seeing different pieces of it. But it's still the same Coppersmith Bride. There's some fun. It's cute. It's romantic. Characters are great. Art's great. Absolutely fun. Fantastic series. Continues to be fantastic. They do a bunch of more traditional Japanese stuff in it. And Shu ends up... One of the people who works for his grandfather ends up involved with his grandfather, and they decide to have him work with a different manufacturer who don't do everything by hand. And so they're going to work on a project together, and adds a very interesting dynamic for like Shu as a coppersmith and Sheena as a like manager, and this other girl as a business partner. Adds a really nice dynamic to the thing while adding absolutely zero romantic tension. So it is still 100% slice of life, goofy, relaxing. It's like, oh, we're going to add this other girl. And you're like, oh no, this is going to, nope, not even a little bit, not even remotely. It's like, oh, okay, I'm fine with that then. Yeah. Cooking with Wild Game Volume 2, the light novel. I am working my way through those. It is very good. The author talks about it at the end of the book that when he was writing it as a like web novel, book 1 just immediately went into what was the equivalent of book 2, but that was too long to make 1 book, so they split it into 2. Book 2 feels like just a complete continuation off of book 1. So they really go well together. It's a nice little second narrative of... I read a lot of books, so I can't remember any character's name. But
I haven't read this story, so I can't help you.
It's a nice little continuation of the chef and Ifa, the hunter, doing a follow-up visit to the other family and him trying to convince the hunters who think that the food that he made was bad for them is actually really good.
Okay.
And there's a really nice twist to it that's a really interesting thing, and you get some really interesting perspectives at all the people. Like, these two books together, the end of the first one flows right into the second one. It's such a good mesh. If you like the first one, you should pick up the second one, because it will just continue as if book one never ended.
Nice.
It doesn't even feel like a second book. It just feels like more of the same, and that's really good. That's hard to do in 2 books, but it makes sense because it wasn't written that way. So that was what I read over the 2 weeks, not counting the 2 days before we're recording this.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the off chance that people I work with are listening to this, I was sick on Monday. I was in bed, and there was a sale. So I bought a few books, and then I read a couple of them.
Just couldn't help yourself.
And I bought the whole series for one of them and read it all that day. So, will Ayuma make the first move? Volumes 1 to 17.
I don't know this one.
So this is the story of the shogi club at a high school, where the second-year girl convinces the first-year boy, before the story starts, to join the shogi club.
Mm-hmm.
Although she doesn't really get why. Shogi being often called Japanese chess, it works very differently.
Yes. Yeah.
But it has the same sort of, if you just think about it as Japanese chess, you'll have a good idea. And despite it being a series about shogi, and at the end of every chapter, they show the actual game that they played.
Oh, nice.
You need to know almost nothing about this, and the games are almost never relevant. So if you're looking at it because you want to learn more about shogi, this is not the series for it.
Okay. So it's kind of different from Hikaru no Go, which is...
Hikaru no Go is much more...
It's focused on Go.
Yeah. They're always playing.
Okay.
And who wins and who loses matters. But you don't watch them play very much. They just play. And then you find out someone wins. And so then the story starts, and the girl has a feeling that the boy really likes her because he keeps saying these very, like, crazy things like, wow, you're extremely cute. And, like, okay, so think Nagatoro. God damn it, I brought up Nagatoro again. Okay, so think Nagatoro backwards. The older person is the girl instead of the boy.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yep.
The boy is extremely polite, and no one is rude to anybody. They both absolutely adore each other from the very start. And the entire conceit of the story is Ayumu, the boy, will not ask her out until he beats her at shogi. And he is trash.
Oh, no.
And the entire series, every chapter is just one after another of just like their adventures of they both really clearly like each other. He will absolutely not under any circumstances ask her out until he beats her at shogi.
And he's just terrible.
And she does not know this. And so she's constantly trying to figure out what she should do and if he actually likes her and all of these other things. It also plays very much like Nagatoro, where like the first several books are very like each week is a new like mini adventure. Mm-hmm. And then a couple more characters get added, and then there's like an actual through line narrative, and it goes from like every week is a mini thing, goofy little adventure, to chapter to chapter to chapter, like more like a traditional manga as it goes on. It is 17 books. The entire thing is over. It is extremely funny, very cute. The whole romance is done very well. The other characters and their lives are incredibly adorable. And unlike Nagatoro, where it's like the one guy and like the girl and her friends, there's like 2 or 3 couples in the series, and they're all very weird and hilarious. 2 of the other characters, there's Ayumu's friend who will always sit with his friend he used to live next to, who's this very shy, quiet, sickly girl who will hypnotize him to do stupid stuff.
Okay.
And they're always sitting together in the library club, and like they both also very clearly like each other and will not do anything.
Of course not.
That's a whole chunk of the series too, is them doing all this stuff, and then they get involved in the shogi club and all this. It's fantastic. It's hilarious. I literally read this in one day. I'm probably going to read it again in a single day because it's just that good.
Okay.
If you want a funny, silly romance, there you go. The first 17 volumes, also known as the entire series, Will Ayuma Make the First Move? Don't worry about it being about shogi. You don't have to know much. There's a primer beforehand, and you don't even need to know that for most of it.
Oh, that's cool.
It is a romantic comedy first, foremost, and entirely. And it does end.
Okay, good.
17 books is the whole series. It comes to an end. I'm not the biggest fan of the... Like, I can imagine the ending being done better, but I have no problems with it. Mm-hmm. And it was still fun and enjoyable throughout. You know where it's going fairly early, and it goes where you expect by the end. But it still manages to be fun and funny at the end. And the very end is sort of like, okay, yeah, it's over. It's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Then I read Kino's Journey, Kino no Tabi in Japanese, the manga. Kino no Tabi, random lore about me, was one of the first light novels I ever bought. It's never come out in English. I own it in Japanese. I've always wanted to read it. I can't physically read it. My Japanese is good at speaking and pretty bad at reading, especially now that I moved back to the US. So I have this book for this series that I wanted to read, and I saw like, oh, they have Kino's Journey. I can finally read it. And I bought all of it. Then I realized it was the manga. No! The light novel's still not available in English. Double no. But it's good. It is a weird series about a person called Kino on a journey.
You don't say.
With their motorbike that will talk to them.
Weird.
Their gun. And they go and they spend 3 days in each place. No more, no less, to learn sort of about that place. Then they move on. And every place is weird as all get out.
Huh.
One place, there are no people around. Everything is run by robots, but everything is super nice. Everything is extremely cheap. They go and they check into like their hotel that costs like $5, and they get a penthouse suite and like a 5-course meal for every meal for the $5. And they're like, is this really what it is? But the entire city's deserted. There's no people. And they're just sort of wandering around. And then you find out what happened to the people and everything, and then they just move on to the next place. So it's a lot of small, weird adventures.
Okay.
Is the whole conceit of the story. So it's good. First book was good. I'm eventually going to read the rest of it. I'm still mad that it's the manga and not the novel, because like this is a light novel from like that started in like 2003. It's not the first light novel, but it's like pre-isekai light novels era light novels.
Yeah, because it's still going on.
Yep, pre-Suzumiya Haruhi light novels. Pretty much every other famous light novel you've ever heard of. Light novels.
I think looks like it started in 2000.
Yeah, it's quite old. And also, like, they've been trying to do a manga version of it forever. And apparently it fell through, like, 6 times. And then this was the one that finally, like, actually got started. And it's good. It is quite good. Read Elden Ring, first volume. It's gag manga about Elden Ring. It's very good. If you know Elden Ring, imagine it being a stupid gag manga, and you know the whole story.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to add to that.
It's pretty much what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's great. I love it. It's fantastic. But you should go back and listen to the other episode we talked about and listen to your description of it, because that's better.
Yeah. It is stupid, hilarious.
It's so stupid. And the art's great. The art's fantastic. The art is 100% Elden Ring art done at an incredible level, and the main character just wandering around in his underwear all the time.
Yeah.
With his health and magic flask stuck to his butt.
It is quite funny. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, so then, still on that Monday, I read Flying Witch, volumes 1 through 12, the entirety of what's released in English. So this is a fantastic sort of slice of life series about witches, because in this world, this is just set in Japan, in normal Japan, in like northern Honshu, northern main island, not quite Hokkaido, but like a rural area. The main character is a witch. Witches exist. They're not supposed to be known about. They're not supposed to be talked about, but they're around. She's living with her cousins and their family.
Okay.
And she's just in high school, and the weird things that they get up to and how magic works and the creatures and characters that they interact with. There are some scary moments. There are some dark moments, but it's mostly a pretty happy, quiet adventure. Not even adventure, just like I wouldn't quite call it slice of life, because it's not normal. And a lot of what happens isn't day-to-day life. They don't like go out to ramen or anything like that as like a whole chapter. And I believe it's kind of halfway between monthly and weekly, so it's like 30-page chapters, so they're a little bit longer. It's been going for a long time, so I think it is a monthly, just slightly shorter chapters.
I think so.
But it's this fun, entertaining little thing. It's really good.
Nice. Yeah.
It's an excellent series. If I didn't read so many other books, I'd probably spend more time on it. But we're not done yet.
You've read
so
much.
Yesterday, yeah, I counted. I read 70 books in 2 weeks. There's still 11 to go.
Yeah.
Only 2 more series, though.
Yes.
Silver Spoon, Hiromu Arakawa, who made Full Metal Alchemist and a bunch of other stuff. This is her one about a kid from Tokyo who goes to an agricultural high school. It's really good.
I believe this came out, this was that she did after Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes. I think it goes to 15 volumes.
Yep.
It's fun. The characters are interesting. They're more... I see some of her other series, and they really look like Full Metal Alchemist characters.
Yes.
Here they look more different. Here they look the most different. Like, the Heroic Legend of Arslan is like, it's not Full Metal Alchemist, but it absolutely looks like Edward Elric on the cover.
Oh, yes.
Daemons of the Shadow Realm looks like Alphonse Elric on the cover.
Yeah.
And like Silver Spoon, they look different. Same style and lots of cows, but they do look like different people. So it's much more of the comedic style and a lot of stuff about food production and growing and high school life and horses and all sorts of other stuff. It's a great series. It's very, very fun. And the final one, the last 9 books that I've read, was today. I read volumes 1 through 9 of All Rounder Meguru, which is an MMA fighting series about a high schooler who's going through becoming an amateur MMA. Japanese, they call it a shuto. It's sort of like their equivalent of MMA fighter.
Okay.
It is extremely good. It is created by Hiroki Endo, who made one of my favorite series of all time in Eden, It's an Endless World, and has made a couple other series since then. This is the one that was translated entirely in English, but it is excellent. It is the length of a shonen battle manga. Like, the battles go on that long, but it is 100% realistic, down to earth, how people actually fight MMA.
Right. Yep.
Which actually works. Like, there's just pages and pages of people, like, grappling and, like, twisting around each other and throwing each other. And there's a lot about injuries and training and all these other things. It's still very funny. The first 2 books make it seem like it's not going to be all about MMA, because the backstory of one of the characters involves Yakuza and a bunch of other stuff. And then they just sort of, like, realize, no, it's just more fun just to talk about MMA and have people punch each other, do all kinds of crazy grappling moves. But it is gorgeous and funny, and the battles are really good.
Nice.
So you should read it, because Hiroki Endo is amazing, and everyone should bow down to him because he is better than most. Now, if only Dark Horse would release the rest of Eden, It's an Endless World. God damn it, they're like 2 books away from the ending.
Ugh.
So mad.
That's too bad.
Yeah, but All Around Meguru, if you want to see like competitive fighting but not crazy magic powers or anything, if you like boxing manga or things like that, this is that.
Nice.
But it's portrayed the way like a more shonen manga is. It's not. It's very much a series for adults.
Okay. Yep.
Even they're still high schoolers, so it's not that much adults, but it's not at all stylized or anything. But it puts that emphasis on like, oh man, he's coming in with this punch, and oh, he's gonna do this, and the whole thing, and it's just really well done.
Nice. Yeah, because there's not too many realistic battle manga. I guess this is more of a sports manga, I would say.
It is more of a sports manga.
Yeah.
But it's the sport of punching. It's the sport of MMA. So it kind of does both worlds. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of like and it's amateur. So it's a lot of like small tournaments of like 2 or 3 bouts. But a tournament will take 2 books or 3 books. A fight might take 5 chapters.
Okay.
And there's one tournament that I think it's like book 4 to 8 is just one tournament, because like 2 of the main characters are both involved in it, and they're both like have like 3 fights in this tournament.
Okay.
And people will lose unexpectedly. people will win unexpectedly. Meguru is, as a like fighter, is this interesting blend of not good at anything, but really good at adapting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because he'll figure out how to do something, and it's never like, magically, I know what to do to solve this problem. It's like, no, he's using that move that he figured out 2 chapters ago at a time when you weren't expecting it. And also, like, you're not strong enough, you don't have enough stamina, we're going to put you through, like, hell training again for another few months. And it is still Hiroki Endo, so, like, pick your poison for your main character. It's like, okay, what terrible thing happened to him? Oh, your mom died. And your grandfather died of dementia, like, falling off of a bridge. Oh, your dad was actually Yakuza, and the Yakuza found him and, like, gunned him down in the street. Oh, your brother accidentally killed someone in high school. Like, pick your poison. Everybody. Oh, you live in a house with like 15 other people because your mom, dad, younger sister, younger brother all live in this house. Also with your grandparents. Also your uncle and his wife. They're like 2 kids who are like 6 years younger than you. Also live here. And also your other aunt and her boyfriend who have also moved into this house. And it's just like, why are there so many people here? Everybody shut up. Like, everyone has like some crazy thing going on, and most of them are very tragic.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hooray!
Yeah, a nice happy story.
It is mostly, I mean, it's a sports manga.
Yeah.
It's gonna mostly be about sports, but the characters are very developed and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so serious that there won't be dumb jokes or stupid things that happen.
Yep.
But there'll be a realistic dumb things that happen when someone's not looking. Like, the girl like kicks the kid in the butt.
Okay.
Just like, he's not like, or just gets annoyed at him and just like starts walking up. The girl is a kickboxer, and it's like, gets annoyed and just starts kicking him in the stomach over and over again. It's like, stop it! I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's great. It's a fantastic series.
Nice. Yeah. It's one you've talked about, and I should definitely check out. Because it's always, sports mangas are few and far between for the really good ones that are somewhat realistic.
100% realism.
Gotcha. Okay.
There is no fantasy power. Even Meguru's like ability to like learn stuff is just, that's what his brain is good at. Is he's just clever at seeing someone do something and figuring out how to physically do it. Mm-hmm. He just never has the power behind it because he's not that strong.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
For our next section, we're going to do a new kind of thing, a little game. We're going to call it, because I couldn't think of a better name, Name That Isekai. So for anyone who doesn't know, an isekai is a story idea where it's about a person, typically. There are some that aren't people, but we'll not focus on those. It's a person who gets transported to a different world as a narrative trope. Typical name of it is fish out of water kind of story, where someone is taken from where they know, put in somewhere where they don't know, and they are said, go off and do something, or survive, or things like that. So that's the rough idea of what an isekai is. It's someone has been transported from one place to another. Sometimes alive is how they were transported. Sometimes they died and were transported, like a reincarnation. But that's still, the isekai as a whole is that idea. Mm-hmm. Makes sense so far?
Yep.
There's all kinds of different ones. It's in video games, it's in books, it's in movies. There's tons of them.
Technically, isekais are Japanese novels or manga because isekai is a Japanese term, and there are tropes associated with isekai.
Yes.
But that's why the fish out of water trope is like, it's basically the same thing. It's not like this has never existed. Gulliver's Travel, you could classify as an isekai.
Yes.
Lots of other stories. Lost, the TV series Lost, I think you could say.
That's a good one.
It's just, isekai tends to refer to Japanese stories because that's where it is. Yeah. And a lot of tropes about them exist, but that's not technically an isekai.
Right. For this game, it's very specific because, for example, One Piece. Oh, well, he's going to different islands and things like that. But he stays on the same planet or world. While he goes to different places, that doesn't mean it's considered an isekai in this situation. So, for example, it is not One Piece is the answer. So for this,
Dang it.
we're going to do 3 stories. So Tom will have to guess 3 stories that I've picked that are isekai.
Okay.
He'll get 20 questions. After every 5 questions, he can put a guess to the story. He has to get the exact name right.
Oh, God.
Because some of these names are through the roof complicated, and it's funnier that way.
Oh, God. Let me open up all my book sites.
If you get it quickly, you'll get more points, and then if you don't get it, you'll get none. We'll see how many points you get. So it's like 4 if you get it in 5 questions, and 3, 2, 1, 0 if you don't get it. And these will be like 20 questions, yes or no. Or I may say, okay, I gotta be a little more exact, depending on what you ask. Okay, so we'll start off with an easier one. And I know you've read this, and you told me about it. Alright, so you have 20 questions. We'll give like a 5-minute time limit. So whenever you're ready, ask your first. So you get 20 questions, and then after every 5, you can do a guess. And then we'll just keep going until see what happens.
Okay.
And we'll see if we ever do this again.
This is in the episode. The answer is still maybe.
Yeah.
We might have just kept it in because we needed something to do to balance out the long list. Okay. First question. Did the main character die to reincarnate in this other world?
Yes.
Did other people also die and reincarnate in this world?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. Okay. We'll go with that. Did the main character become a king?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. That takes that one off. Is there magic?
Yes.
Does the main character get a harem?
Yes. Okay, so that's 5. So what's your first guess?
Oh, God. Having to do the whole title, too, is just like... it's not a realist hero. Died to do it.
You can pass if you want.
No, I want to take it. I want to try. I will guess mixed bathing in another dimension.
Nope. Not that one.
That's fine.
All right.
It probably wasn't that one anyway.
Next question.
Is the main character's ability obviously overpowered?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a within reason a European medieval-ish fantasy world that they are living in?
Yes.
Do they have a cell phone?
Yes.
Do you think I know which one this is going to be?
Yes. You got one more question.
Should I waste this question?
Yes. Okay, so what's your answer?
In another world with my smartphone.
What was it again?
In another world with my smartphone.
That is correct.
Yeah!
You get 3 points.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
That
right.
I can take that one off the list now, too. Haha!
Yes. Okay, this one is a little harder. You've definitely read it. So yeah, whenever you're ready, we'll go on number 2.
Did the person die to reincarnate in this other world?
No.
Okay. Have other people from our world traveled there as well, or is it just the main character?
Yes, but very, very rarely.
Ooh, okay. I was not expecting that.
Like it's hinted at, and I believe it may come up, but for the most part, no.
Is it a male protagonist?
No.
Ooh, okay. Female protagonist. Oh man, this has gotten way harder because I'm not sure what else to... is it standard European fantasy-esque universe?
No.
Ooh, okay. Does the main character have an obviously overpowered ability? Obviously overpowered. That people in the world look at it and immediately go, that's freaking crazy.
I guess yes, but it's kind of hard to quantify that. Alright, so that's 5. So what's your first guess?
I want to check and make sure I can say the title right, because this is the only one I can think of when you...
Yeah, this will be a tricky one.
I shall survive using potions.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Oh, you're right. You said it wasn't a traditional fantasy.
Yep.
Is there magic?
Yes. Magic in the sense that there is magical things.
Okay. Oh God, this is. I'm having trouble thinking of questions because it's like. Is this a comedy?
No, not in the traditional sense. No, there's comedic things that happen, but it's not a comedy.
It's not mainly a comedy.
No. Nope.
It's not mainly a comedy. Female lead. Oh boy. Like, what if did I already ask if the main character died? I think I did.
No, but the answer is no.
Okay, so they didn't die to get.
They did not die. At least I don't think you asked that already.
Okay, that's fine. I need to ask it again anyway because I need to know that.
No, they did not die.
Was anyone else transported to the world with them? As far as you know from like the first book is fine. You don't have to know for like the whole series. Maybe at some point, but
no,
like
they were transported by themselves.
Okay.
Just double check to make sure, but no, I don't think so. No, they went by themselves. You're gonna kick yourself when you figure out what it is.
I know I am. I know I am. As soon as you mentioned it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But
you got one more question
for the next title. Okay. Problem is, you know that I've read it or know of it, so it's like I'm trying to think of like what it could be. If the main genre is not comedy, is the main genre? Is it a dark story?
Could you be more specific?
Is the tone of the story? Here, let me go with genre then. Is the main genre of the story action?
For the most part, yes. There's a lot of action in it.
Female lead.
Okay, so what's your next guess?
Next guess, I would go with. Again, it's like, you know that I know it, so it's probably going to be one where it's like I'm going to hear, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I recognize it. Blade of the Moon Princess.
Nope.
Okay.
All right.
It's probably not really an isekai.
You got 10 to go.
Is the other world a video game?
No.
Does the character remain mostly human when they arrive in the other world?
Yes.
Were they originally female, or were they originally male in our world?
They were always female.
Damn it. I was like, oh, it could be this one. No,
and they stay female.
Yes. Were they originally Japanese?
Yes.
I got one more.
Yep, one more.
I'm literally scrolling through my library right now, looking at every series, and it's like, no. Okay, so this is going to be a personal one, but I'm going to ask it this way. You say that I know it or have read it. Would I have read the light novel, or would I have only read a manga version of it?
Manga. Only.
Okay. That changes things and helps me not at all.
So what's your next guess?
They were female. They were always female. It's not Inuyasha, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, god damn it. Okay.
Okay, so
that was good. That was good. That was hard. I'm amazed that I caught that.
I was surprised you got that after all that.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, wow, all right, that was good. I forgot. Oh wow. Whew.
Yeah, that was good. Wow, I wasn't expecting you to get that based on how I was
What did I get for that one? Did I just get 1 point, or was that 2?
No, you 2, because you missed only 2 questions or only 2 guesses.
Okay, I think I can do another one. Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so this one. Okay, we'll go with this one.
Okay.
I don't know if you know anything about that one. All right, so last one. This is one that you've heard of. I don't know if you've read it.
Okay. Does the main character die before they are brought to this other world?
Unknown. You don't know if they died.
Unknown. Is this European medieval fantasy world? The New World?
I
guess.
Generally, yeah.
Okay. Do they have a harem?
No, I wouldn't say they have a harem. Like, there are female characters.
Yeah.
But it's not a harem kind of setup.
I don't know if they died. Is this a comedy?
No, I wouldn't say it's a comedy.
Yeah, as its main genre, I mean. Yeah.
No. Nope.
Okay.
Not a comedy.
Is that 4?
That's 4. One more.
Would I most likely know this from its manga or from its light novel, or possibly both?
I would say...
I guess that's not a yes or no question. Would I know this mostly from its manga? Or if you want to answer it, you can answer how I asked.
Yeah, I would say probably both do exist.
Both do exist. Okay.
So there is both. That's one of those things. The light novel obviously came up first, so
This is not my guess, but I'm going to be so mad if it turns out to be Kino no Tabi.
it is not.
I know.
So what's your actual guess?
We don't know.
Nope. We don't know if they died.
Is it that time I got reincarnated as a slime?
Ooh, I was gonna pick that one, but didn't. But no, that's not the answer. And actually, you do know he did die.
Oh yes, that's right. We do know he died.
Yep.
Okay.
I almost picked that too.
Is it mostly about cooking?
No.
Is it a male main character?
Technically, yes.
Ooh. You know how many times I've wanted to say Frontier Lord because of Zero Subjects, and I have to remind myself that's not an isekai?
That's not an isekai.
It's not an isekai at all, but it keeps showing up in the list of my books.
Yeah, it's one of those things. He's not transported. He is in a place that he doesn't know, but
yes, he is a fish out of water, but he's not an isekai.
It's not an isekai, no.
Does the main character regularly fight?
No.
Okay.
I would say no. They don't do that regularly. They do fight, but not regularly.
Not regularly. Yeah. Okay. The dramatic point. It's like, oh, all the bodyguards are gone, blah, blah, blah.
Two more.
Are they still generally human?
No.
Ooh. What could this be? Oh, and I might not have actually read it too, so I just need to think of famous isekais. Does an anime of this exist yet?
Yes.
Okay.
So what's your guess? Your next guess?
No, you said I was a male character, so it's not that. So I'm a spider. So what? There's a light novel of it too, so it's not like an obviously famous manga.
Doesn't really narrow it down, does it?
It really doesn't. Knowing that it was a light novel matters, because then I know it wasn't a manga first.
Yep.
So it can have been.
So what's your next guess?
I'm just gonna guess How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom.
Nope.
I didn't think so, but I gotta guess something. I need more information.
What's next? What's your next guess?
Oh, damn it. I think I just might have figured it out. Does the main character die in this other world?
No.
Okay, so it's not ReZero.
Yeah, that was a good one.
No, they don't regularly fight. Is the other world based on something that was in our world, like a video game or a fictional story or something like that they then got transported to?
Technically, no. It is not.
Okay. That takes care of Overlord. Which I haven't read, but like it's famous. It was a light novel.
Yeah. It's
Is this gonna be one that I'm gonna be like, oh, I should have known this?
Oh yeah.
But it was a light novel first.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna get something like Inuyasha or something where it's like, oh.
Oh, you already did Inuyasha.
Yeah, but like Inuyasha was like, oh wow, that's really good. I forgot about those sorts of things. But I was like, yeah. Also, now forget all of those things like that you thought of.
You're on the right track.
Was it originally a light novel?
Yes.
Okay. Is the way the world is constructed for us, the readers, and or for the person in it, does it act like a video game? Like stat screens and things like that? Or some sort of like obvious video gamey reference in the way that the characters...
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is that, but not for everyone. Just the main character and the people with the main character. But the world itself does not have access to that, as far as you know. For example, a peddler cannot bring up a screen or an infinite storage box. I'll make this easier for you. There's no infinite storage box.
Yeah, but there's
a regular person can get.
Yeah, but I was thinking more of like, is there like stat screen type things or something like that? That's
stat screens are a thing.
Stat screens are a thing.
Not
everybody has it.
No.
Or has access to it.
Nope.
Okay. That knocks out Peddler, and that knocks out... Who's the only one? We don't know if he died. Wait, did I ask if he was the only one? I did not. Was he the only one who was transported to this other world?
Ever?
Generally in like the beginning of the story.
I'll help you out. So, the answer is, at the beginning of the story, only the main character was. However, there are hints that other people have been transported over the years.
It's not Mario, is it?
It's not what?
It's not Super Mario Brothers, right?
No, it's not Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
You're gonna kick yourself when I tell you what it is.
Yeah, I know I am. You can count that as one of the actual questions.
No, I will not. Well, you're at,
dang it.
okay,
Now
so
I
you're
have
at
to think
15.
of-
So what's your next guess?
We don't know. God damn it. And it started as a light novel. I know I'm not gonna get this until I randomly stumble into something and finally get it. So I'm gonna say mixed bathing in another world because I didn't ask it this time.
Nope. Okay. You got 5 questions left.
Does the character have obvious cheat abilities? So what I mean by that is, for example, in Mixed Bathing in Another World, the main character has the power of unlimited bath, which doesn't seem very powerful. It is, but it's not obviously very powerful. Does the main character have something obviously very powerful?
Obviously, no. They are very powerful, but that's because that's how they arrived at the world. They arrived there with incredible power, but it's not like a cheat power per se. They are just incredibly powerful.
It's not a battle series. It started as a light novel. Is this a Japanese series?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a cheat power like smartphones' slip ability. They are just powerful.
Okay. Started as a light novel.
Yes.
When they go to this new world, are they interviewed by some sort of divine being before they are released there?
No, they just show up.
Okay. That takes out Konosuba and a lot of others.
They don't know how they got there.
Is there modern technology in this other world? Or the equivalent of modern technology?
No. Nope.
Okay. Yeah, this is a good one. I am...
You're going to kick yourself.
Really struggling. I know I am. I know I should know this. I know I should be able to figure this out. Like, I'm literally just Googling isekai and light novels and looking at all the pictures that show up to just give me something else to say. They are a gendered male main character who isn't necessarily human, comes from another world. We don't know how they got there. They weren't invited by a divine being.
Nope.
It started as a light novel.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 more
There's
questions.
something like magic, but it's not a traditional European medieval fantasy.
Oh no, it is. I said yes.
Oh, you said yes. Okay.
Yes.
That doesn't really change much.
No, it doesn't.
Because all it does is it means like nothing is involved to everything is involved.
Yes.
The main character doesn't have the ability to come back to life after they die a horrible death, right? I know you already asked this.
That hasn't come up yet.
Okay.
They've never
I
actually
just want to
died.
make really sure that it's not ReZero.
It is not ReZero. I'll give that to you. It's not.
Okay.
So you got 2 questions. That was a freebie.
Did the series...
You're so close.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Okay. If you can't
Is
think
the
of
main character a blacksmith?
No, they are not.
Okay. It's not My Quiet Blacksmith Live in Another World. Good.
That's a good guess, though.
Because I don't know if we know if if he died or not in the other world.
I think he did. Yes, I think he did die.
Yeah, but... Okay, this is going to sound stupid, but like I'm scrambling at straws to find anything. Yep. Is it obviously an isekai from the beginning of the story?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you're at 20.
Guess.
I'm going to give you a hint.
Okay.
Actually, I'll give you a couple hints. So, first, one of the questions that you asked before, I think you misconstrued my answer.
Okay, good. I couldn't remember if I'd asked multiple questions before anyway, so that hint is wonderfully not helpful.
But I think it has to do with what you know about the story, because it has to do with... So the main character is transported from a world to another world, and they take what they know from our world to that world, but they are not transported to the same world. So, all right, I'll give you a hint. So they are... I'm trying not to make it too obvious.
Okay.
So...
Give me one more hint, then I'll make my final guess, and then you can tell me, because I don't think I can do any more than that.
They are transported from a world that is not real to a real world that is not related to the world they were transported from.
Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf?
No, so they're not transported to our world either.
Okay.
So they are taken. So the main character is
So
in an artificial
let me ask
world,
you,
transported to another world.
as
that is
a
not
bonus
the same
question, I'll ask
artificial
it like
world.
this:
Okay.
Is the world that they come from our world? Is the
It
world that they come from
is-
our modern world?
It's tricky because it's not quite
Okay.
that. So they are transported. They are from our world, but they are in a different world, and then get transported to this world that the story takes place in. Is the way the story works.
It's gonna make so much sense the moment you tell me what the story
Yep.
is. I know it.
It
And
is.
it's gonna be like, oh yeah, of course. Obviously, this is talking about this, which is talking about this. I'm
And
out
it's-
of ideas, so I'm just gonna say, is it Isak?
No.
Okay, I give up. I have no idea.
You're gonna kick yourself because you said it earlier, and you said no, it's not that. It is Overlord.
What? Didn't I guess that for this one?
No, you said it's.
Oh.
I asked. You asked a question. Said, "Oh, it's not Overlord," and you moved on.
Yes, because I asked, like, is it a fantasy world is it based on something that existed in their world?
It is not.
It's not. I thought it.
No.
Okay,
So
I have not read enough of it to know that. Then
in the original story, he is playing a VR game,
yes,
and then he is taken from the VR game to a completely different fantasy world.
isn't it the world based on the VR game though?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Okay.
I would
yeah.
never have gotten it then.
Okay. Yes.
I thought he was transported into another world that was the VR game.
Nope. In this situation, his little guild from the VR game is taken to a completely new world.
Okay.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the trick.
I
As soon as you
had
said that, I was like,
no
he doesn't
idea how
understand the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I did not know that at all. I would have never gotten it.
Yeah, that is why.
I feel a lot better because I completely misunderstood the small part of Overlord that I read. Because I
Yeah.
think I only read up to him waking up in the other world, and that was it.
Oh yeah, then you would know nothing.
Yeah, then I would know
Yeah.
nothing. But it was just like, oh, like every other isekai game he's playing in this VR game, he goes and ends up in the games. Like, obviously it's the games world. Like,
Nope. This is the one time that doesn't happen.
okay, that would explain why it's popular, because it's slightly different.
But yes, it is Overlord.
Okay, Overlord. I did not know that. Okay, good job, Overlord. No, that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I would have never gotten it. Because,
that's
like you said.
Yeah, because I had one more. I'm like, I bet he has no idea what this one is. So we'll go with Overlord. Because I've talked about it, and
Yeah.
you've at least
it's
heard of it.
very famous. Yeah, I know of it.
Yes.
I did think of it, but it's like, no, it can't be that. Okay.
It's so funny
Okay.
that you said it.
And even now that you said it, it's like, that was like never going to be the one I would have guessed again anyway.
Yeah. Nope.
Nice. That was fun.
Yeah. So 5 out of 12.
5 out of 12.
Okay. But you got the one. I wasn't expecting you to
I
get
got
Inuyasha
3 points
that
on
fast.
one of them. And I got 2 points on another one. And we're not talking about the third one.
Yeah, no. So we may do it again. Probably not next time, but we'll do this again, and either you can try to come up with some, or I'll try to come up with some. There's some crazy ones out there.
There are some crazy isekai out there, yes.
Yeah. And at least these were, except for the smartphone one, simple names.
So for our main series today, we're going to be talking for a little bit about Boiled Cop and Dolphin. We're going to be covering chapters 1 to 22. It's about book 1 to book 2.5. I just want to say this before we really got started, although someone already spoiled everything I was going to say after this anyway. But I wanted to say this because I came in and I read this series knowing nothing, and I don't think it's going to come out this time, but if we ever talk about the next part of this, there's some stuff I want to say about how it worked when I didn't know about this. So before any spoilers of any kind other than the ones that were already spoiled, I do want to say this is a really good series. It is a lot of fun. If you're interested in it and you want to like go in how I went in, don't listen to anything else. Just go pick it up. Even just pick up the first book. By the end of the first book, you'll know if you're going to enjoy it. And just don't look anywhere beyond it. Just pick up the next book and read it, and then pick up the next book and read it. And I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a great series. It's a lot of fun.
And just so you know, I believe in English, this is only digital. In Japanese, you can get paperback. But in the English translation is only available digitally. There's no physical copies of this. And I believe this came out a few years ago.
2022, I want to say, but I might be wrong. It might be 2020.
Yep, and this was a Shonen Jump.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to say. Technically from here, 2020 to 2021.
That's what it was. Okay.
Which technically already broke into the thing of, from here on, we're going to be spoilers. And the first spoiler is the thing that you already said and that I just also revealed. It's very short. It's 5 books. We're covering the first half.
Yep.
This is the first half. It is a 5-book series. It is very short. And I did not know this reading this. And I did not realize this until book 5, like the second chapter of book 5 of, oh, this story is almost over.
Yeah.
And that gave me some different thoughts on it because I did not realize that that was happening. But we're not really going to talk about that because we're not going to get to that point. I would just say that don't be concerned that it's short, but remember that it's not going to be long.
Yeah, it is. It's too bad because I read this when it was coming out and it was really good.
It is really good.
And it's like, oh, that's too bad.
I will also say, though, and I could be very much wrong about this. I do not know if it was intended to be this short, if it was canceled, if it was told to come to an end, or if it was always planned to be this short. Any single one of those being what actually happened could be true, and I don't mind how short it is. I do think it being just the 5 books, there is some weirdness to it, but I think I would like it better at 5 volumes than at 15 volumes.
Yeah.
Even though there's some cool stuff.
And for anyone who doesn't know, it was written by Ryuhei Tamura. And you may have heard of this name because he wrote Beelzebub, which was another really popular Shonen Jump a few years before this one.
I'm glad you said that because I have never heard of this before.
Oh, really? That he wrote that? Or Beelzebub?
I knew that he wrote it because I read the author information in Boiled Cop and Dolphin.
Yes.
But I knew nothing about the series itself.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's from Gifu, too. Nice.
Yeah. So I think Beelzebub is pretty similar style to Boiled Cop and Dolphin. It's it's very comedic.
Yes.
But there is action and things like that in it.
Yeah. Obvious from the title of Boiled Cop and Dolphin. This is basically plays like a cop movie, although with its length and sort of how things work out, it's more like a cop movie trilogy. It feels like a couple of movies it has a lot of police procedural and drama tropes in it. So that's going to be the kind of story you're going to get. But it's when it's focusing on the quote unquote cop drama mystery plot, it's focusing on a single case, which we'll talk about. The first half of it is a lot more about the characters involved, and the second half is solving the plot and dealing with what it is that's happening. So the first half is a lot more of, well, we're going to do this other thing for a while. Oh, this other thing's going to happen for a while. Or, oh, there's this character, and we're going to talk about them for a bit. It's a much more loose, open story, and then the second half is, now we're going to deal with this thing that we've been talking about. And has had effects and has been an important part this whole time, but it much more drills down into that. But I think the easiest way to explain to you what the story is it is called Boiled Cop and Dolphin, and it is about a cop, Samejima, who is hard-boiled McHardboiled. In the beginning, his narration blocks have blood spatters because that's how hard-boiled he is. No, it's not because of nosebleeds. Ha ha ha. The first female character shows up and fan service ensues.
Yep.
And who is every hard-boiled cop movie trope character.
Yeah.
Kind of a guy.
I don't think he's supposed to be that old, though.
He's not. He's in his late 20s, early 30s.
Yes.
Which is about where a young police officer would be. He's not.
Yes.
He's not a high school student.
But he's not like the old guy who's been doing it for decades.
He's not a noir
yeah.
cop. Yeah, he's like modern cop or like undercover cop type movie ages, like 20s to 30s. has been on the force, but hasn't been there forever. And the dolphin being Orpheus, the humanoid-shaped dolphin, who's also a lieutenant, so he outranks Samijima.
Yes.
Samijima is also called Shark. We're going to call him Shark a lot, too, because it's easier to say than his full name, because Same is the Japanese word for shark, the first half of his name. Yeah, so Orpheus is a literal dolphin with hands and legs, who is a lieutenant on the police force on this island, that out-of-the-way rural island, and he is transferred there because he gets involved in a hostage situation in the beginning and just punches the hostage taker while they're on top of a building holding the hostage.
Yeah.
He saves the day, but he's a loose cannon who doesn't go by the rules.
So he's shipped away. Yeah.
And instead of getting fired, he gets transferred. Yeah.
It's really funny because I think at the beginning he's like, I'll give you 3 choices. 1, you let the person go and I punch you. 2, I shoot you and then punch you. Or 3, something happens and I punch you.
Yeah. No, the third one is, I can't think of a third one. I'm just going to punch you in the face.
Yeah. And the guy's like, I have a knife. And he tries to stab him and he punches him in the face.
Yep.
And it was hilarious because then he's taken in front of the police chief. He's like, I'm kicking you out of the force and all these things. You're doing horrible things. He lists all these things he's done. And then the last one is downloading things that he's not supposed to. It's like, well, I was downloading the map.
I was downloading them after the incident. It was really just a screenshot anyway. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, he's like, I've had enough of you. We're shipping you out of here. And he goes off to this island, and it's like a tropical island. So
it's called Anegashima. It's like a tropical island. I believe it's supposed to be set like near Okinawa. No, actually, I don't think it's near Okinawa, but it's southern Japan. It's warm, but it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And to understand the wackiness of this, the second main character is a humanoid dolphin. His head is literally a dolphin head. He has hands. He's always wearing gloves for reasons that you see why in book 2, but we're not really going to talk about because it's a lot more important later.
Yeah.
He's got a weird gauntlet hand under his glove. Not important. We're not really going to talk about it because nothing's explained about it until later anyway.
Yep.
They basically end up being partners on the force, and they are both weird.
Because when they introduced them, Samijima shows up at the police station. It's like, okay, here's our 2 new recruits. Samijima's there. And then there's Orpheus right next to him, who's also new to the force. And
saying, like, thank you everyone for inviting me here today. And he's like, why is there a dolphin here?
It's like, why is no one reacting to this?
Yes. That's the other thing that's like great about the wackiness. It's like wacky stuff happens.
Yeah.
And most people react, but not always. Like all the police officers are like, okay, yeah, someone's a dolphin, sure.
It's like, I've seen this before.
Yeah. To sort of throw out the other main characters, we'll talk about Chako, who is the child, a lot more in a second. So just remember she exists. But the other characters to really know about early on, we have Umi Nanase. She is another one of the police officers. She exists as a, like, sort of the other partner to Shark, as well as fan service. Like when she salutes, the buttons on her shirt pop off because her breasts are so big. And then she'll, like, literally in like 5 seconds sew new buttons on. And it's still a Shonen Jump fan servicey thing from time to time. But it's not all the time.
No.
And she's a good officer, except in stressful situations.
Yep, she panics a lot.
There's a number of other officers who don't even get named in the here's the other characters. They just show up, but you do see them and they're like interesting little people. And there's some other characters we'll talk about as they come up in the story. But the fourth one who's really important is Chako.
Yes.
And this is what the main case of this is that there was this cult of the ocean. And there was a girl who could speak to dolphins, who was the oracle of this cult. And then the whole cult disappeared all at once. And then 3 months later, the girl came back. And that girl is Chako. And she's being kept under police protection with Orpheus, the dolphin lieutenant, who Chako calls her father. And they are basically taking care of her all the time.
Yeah, they're her guardians, pretty much.
Yes. What you find out actually rather quickly is Chako has the power of imagination. Something she believes to be true will just happen.
It's weird.
It's weird. It doesn't always work how you expect. But if she believes that something will be, the world itself will alter to become it, generally relating to something to do with the oceans.
Yes, she's very interested in the ocean. But yeah, in the beginning of the story, I don't think it's explained that well.
It's actually explained in like chapter 2 or 3.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still vague about how it works.
They don't know how it works, but they know that's what it is. And to give a quick example that's not like a big plot point is like at one point Chaco is on the beach and she sees a sea star and it's like, that's a sea star. No, that's a punk. And then the sea star turns into this buff dude with a sea star as his head who's just like, fuck you. I'm going to kick the crap out of you. And then he just leaves.
Yep.
And it's just like, yep, that's a thing. That's what Chaco does.
This story can be extremely random sometimes.
Yes. That's the world that this exists in. Mm-hmm. And yeah, do you have anything else you want to like talk overview?
No, I think that's most of it. Yeah, it's very much... So the art style-wise is really good. It's very expressive. There's some hilarious scenes. There's scenes that are just, this is so ridiculous.
Yes.
How is this not... There's no way it can't be hilarious. Because some people are reacting one way, and then some people are like, that's just how it is. That's normal. And Shark, who is... It just tries to roll with it sometimes, but then he's also like, this place is weird.
Yeah. And then, like, Shark will randomly also be, like, kind of wacky in a way. Because it is a Shonen Jump thing, and he is stupidly tough.
Yes.
Like, he face plants into a dinghy. He gets thrown, like, off a cliff. He gets smashed by a giant hammerhead shark hammerhead, which I don't know if we'll even actually explain, or if it should be explained, or if you should just see it. He gets the crap kicked out of him in ways that like a normal human would have died long ago, and he'll just get up and keep going. It gets very ridiculous what he can do physically, and other characters just have these weird quirks about them, and sometimes the story just decides that it's going to solve the problem in the wackiest way, and it just goes with it. To give a good example of from what is one of the, I would still consider it the filler chapters, which we'll talk about in a second, but they're trying to get to a boat that is poaching sea creatures.
Yes.
And so Orpheus and Shark are like, we're going to go there. And so Orpheus is like, I know how to get us to that boat, because they don't have a boat. All the Coast Guard is busy. And so Orpheus turns into a dolphin on the ground.
He takes off his clothes.
He takes off his clothes and turns into just a regular dolphin. He can still talk. And he's like, Shark, throw me. It's like, what? I'm a dolphin on the ground. I can't swim. I need to be in the water. Shouldn't you have changed in the water? Yes, I realize I should have done that, but it's too late now. And then it's like, then Chaco shows up. And Chaco's like, I'll help. And it's like, you're a 5-year-old girl. How are you going to help? And then she just immediately lifts this 500-pound dolphin up over her head. This like little tiny girl is just holding it up. And it's like, how can you do that? And Chaco just turns to Shark and is like, Shark, ride now. And then there's like 2 pages, then it goes back to them. And the way they get to the boat is Shark is riding Orpheus in his dolphin form, being carried by Chaco, who's just running atop of the water. And that's it.
So hilarious.
It's just like, and Shark's just sitting there like holding onto the doors of it. I'm like, this is just the weirdest way I was expecting to get there. Mm-hmm. And then like Chaco finally gets there and just throws the 2 of them onto the boat. And then there's a battle on the boat and all this stuff goes on and the whole rest of the but that's just what they do. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of silliness that this series has.
Yeah.
And then there'll also be one of the actual like plot arcs at some point. There'll be a part where they just find people's dismembered legs.
Yep.
over. They found like 7 legs from people where they've just been cut off below the knee in the past 2 weeks. And it's just like, okay, now we're trying to figure this out while they're investigating another accident that almost kills somebody. And it's just like, oh, okay, right. This is still police drama, serious time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's big swings of this is super hilarious, and then this is, oh, okay, there's actually something serious going on.
Yeah, there's some pretty big tonal shifts in this.
Yep.
They tend to bring the wacky in a lot, but the wacky will let them solve the problem, and then they'll solve the problem either with shonen violence or police drama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think it's something that we can easily talk about that's not just going to be us laughing at it entirely. And this is not just a response to the fact that we've been recording for a really long time because we had to talk about so many books at the beginning. This not has to do anything at all. I actually don't have a lot to say about this part of the story. It's also why I wanted to get this part done. Because I think the second half has a lot more interesting things to talk about. Whereas the first half is just, you should read this because this is just funny. This is like, the first half of the series is like the meme videos that people share on YouTube.
Yep.
There's no point in me explaining it. Just go look at it. It's hilarious. It's 30 seconds of a cat doing handstands across a balance beam and then jumping off and landing in a bowl of milk. It's just stupid, funny, weird, wacky, crazy nothingness.
I think that's one thing about the first half is there's a lot of chapters, but a lot of them feel like, okay, this is just a one-off story almost.
Yeah. It feels like there are actually filler chapters in this incredibly short series.
Yeah.
Some of them are okay, but a lot of them are kind of bad, especially in books 2 and 3. Book 1, I think that none of them are too fillery. It's very clear what is also happening. But then in books 2 or 3, there'll be like a 3 or 4 chapter like mini arc, then a random single one-off chapter, then a 2 or 3 mini arc, then a random one-off chapter, and then 2 or 3 ending.
Yep.
And those work really well, but those filler ones just kind of don't. They're usually too wacky, but also don't connect to anything.
Mm-hmm. I think that may have been one of the problems with the story originally. It's like there's huge swings in the tone and style of this story. It goes from shonen-y cop drama to just wacky goofiness and back again. And it's not bad, but it's very not quite sure which direction it should go almost. It either needs to be more comedy and more silliness or more serious, more shonen-y. But it's trying to thread the needle of both, and it could work. Mm-hmm. And some of the ones that are done well, some of the chapters are really interesting. But then it's like, and then it whips into a chapter that's just hilarious, fun. It's like, okay, but I kind of want to know where that's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like each of those parts is really good. When it wants to be dramatic and like a cop drama, it does it very well. And when it wants to be really stupid funny, it does that really well. And not just like in one way, like, oh, it's got its fan servicey parts, oh, it's got this, but it's got visual gags, it's got weird stuff, it has tons of ocean puns all over it. There's the fan service. There's the callbacks to random things that have happened in other episodes and other chapters. There are very obvious police tropes that they make fun of over and over again. It has all the different types of comedy all crammed into it. And it's really good. But then it's just like, it does it best when it's doing all that in service of this plot that it's slowly revealing. Or even just a plot rather than, we're going to talk about something for 15 pages and then the next chapter we're not really going to talk about it again. Yeah. As long as it connects to some sort of through line, then I think the chapters like still work and do well. But when they're completely separated and they feel like just complete one-offs, doesn't matter how funny they are or how good the drama is. It's just like, why did I read this? Yeah,
it's always one of those things. Like you either, because I've read plenty where like it's each chapter is kind of its own unique story, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But they have kind of a different, less serious tone because it's like, well, we can't take this too seriously because you can't bridge that many chapters all at once. Yeah. This one, it's trying to be really serious and really funny, and it's good. Like, I like it, but I could see people not liking it. Because, it's a cop drama. It's like, no, it's a funny
goofy story.
Yeah.
But if you're like, well, I don't like cop dramas, so then it's not goofy enough. But I don't like goofy. It's not goofy all the time, so then it's not hilarious enough. And it's like, okay, you're kind of splitting hairs, and it's like, okay, which way is it going? And then it kind of, at least in the first half, it feels very unfocused of where it's going. It's still great, but
it's still great. And I think the one thing that makes it nowadays much better is if you were to look at any individual book and you would ask me like, okay, where do you put this book? I would rate all of the books very high, because those parts that just don't work for me are always sandwiched between a bunch of other parts that are excellent.
Yeah.
Chapters that don't work, there's one maybe in the first book. I don't even really think there's one bad chapter in the first book. There's 2 in book 2, and there's like 3 in book 3, but the beginning of book 2 and the end of book 2 are amazing.
Yeah.
And the second half of book 3 is the start of the second half of the story, where it starts connecting everything, and it loses some of that humor, but it starts... I feel like the story always does well is if it's clearly following some sort of thread forward, and it's moving what's happening forward. Sometimes it's too serious, sometimes it's too silly, but I don't feel confused by it. I feel like, okay, I get why we're doing this. The bomb octopus chapter, because yes, there's a chapter where an octopus comes on the ground and then hyper evolves into a man who likes to plant bombs, but he isn't himself a bomb octopus, so the pieces of him are also bombs, because yes, that is how this world works.
Yeah.
In terms of solving the mystery, it's not important, but it's also the first time you see the ocean gangs and Chaco's powers like doing weird things. And if you reread it after you've read it, you realize everything that happens after Chaco says something, and then something changes about what's going on in the situation.
Yep.
So it's clearly written well.
Oh yeah.
This was all clearly planned, and they thought about it and they did it there, and sometimes you just don't quite notice it, but it's there, and it's like, oh, this is really cool and funny and weird and scary because things are exploding, but also it's a goofy moment because at one point the octopus and Chaco just start doing peekaboo to each other and like making silly faces, and it's just like half like, what are you doing? And then it turns out at the same time Shark was just like, surprise, punches him in the face.
Yeah.
It's just like, because you weren't paying attention to him, he just showed up and kicks him. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, right, battle action, let's go.
Yeah, and there's hints of bigger plots going on, like this is the front line of the crime of the ocean kind of thing.
Yep.
There's hints that things are happening in the background, and there's more going on than you know at the beginning, and that comes along as the story goes along, but it's can be so goofy and so dark in times. It's like, okay, bombs are exploding in the town, and then we'll solve it by punching things.
Yep.
It's like, okay. But as you were saying, like, you learn by reading it again, all these things were hinted at. But if you just read it from start to finish, you'll miss a lot of that.
Yeah, when it's doing it well, even not noticing those hints and just sort of reading it for the first time, it's still an entertaining thrill ride of hilariousness and goofiness. There's still fun to be had. You don't have to sit and reread it multiple times just to get anything out of it. No. It's still a great story from the beginning. On your first read, I mean.
I could see why people didn't really get their hooks in it, because it is one of those where you really have to stick with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because it's like, it's good, but it's trying to do too much.
The tonal whiplash, I didn't really think too hard about it before, but thinking on it now, it is pretty strong in certain chapters. Now, having read them, like, while I could read them as a book,
yeah,
I didn't mind it because it's like, okay, well, this is where it's like, well, let me just read the next chapter. It's like, oh, now it's back to being funny, or oh, now it's back to being serious, whichever one I preferred. It'll jump back, but I think if it was you were reading it week to week, you might pick it up and be like, wait, is this the same series?
And that's one of the problems that you can have with a shonen, because you're only reading it week to week. Unless you remember exactly what happened in the last one, it's like, okay, this kind of has to flow the same way every time. comedies are able to do that a lot easier by like, oh, we could just kind of be goofy and it's like almost a different story every week. But as soon as you be more serious, like story has to connect for people to follow it, especially if it's complicated.
Yeah.
And I like it, and I liked it when I was reading it, but it's like, okay, yeah, as you were saying, this is very different week to week if you're just reading it week to week.
Yeah, I can see it being a lot harder to enjoy getting a chapter, and certain chapters I could feel like I would have gotten them and I would have been like, oh, this is kind of fallen off. I don't know if I'll read it again next week. I don't know if I really care anymore because it's just like, oh, this chapter's not that good.
Right. And this has happened with other shonen series where you hear about, oh, this one's on the chopping block, so they kind of steer the story in a different direction. This is almost, it's steering it one way and then steering it another way and steering it another way.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's so frustrating because I like it, and it's, yeah,
and
I gotta read it all again.
it is really good, like, and I think that's the other thing I want to like keep saying here is like we're talking about a lot of the things that we see that are wrong with it, but I really like this. This was one of the last series that I took off. So when we did our episode 1 of our favorite series from 2024, we did our top 5 and our honorable mentions. This was the last series to get cut from my honorable mentions to get it down to the 5 I kept. Mm-hmm. It was almost there. It is so much fun. And the mystery and the goofy, completely whacked out insanity of it helps the actual mystery, which is kind of a crazy story. And the Asian police procedural, like Hong Kong cop, internal affairs style narrative of like this crazy conspiracy that's going on that the police are trying to figure out, but like all these other things are going on in the background, and the ridiculous place that it ends up going is not so weird because one of the cops is a dolphin.
Yeah.
And Chaco creates a kappa at one point who's just sitting there on the ground eating a cucumber because that's what kappas do, but he just shows up for like 2 panels and that's all he's there for. And then there's the Uminyan, who's like another one of the filler chapters, but it's just like, yep, it's a sea cucumber. It's like, it's this weird little goofy creature.
Yes, that's right.
That's like, Chaco calls an Uminyan like an umineko, which is the Japanese word for seagull. One of the Japanese words for seagull. And it's like, no, Chaco, an umineko is a seagull. It's a bird. It's not a fish. It's like, nope, it's an uminyan. And it turns out it's like this weird version of this mythical sea creature that can cure people's diseases and stuff. And it's just like, what? Mm-hmm. What is this weird, goofy little thing that just wanders around for a chapter? And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's some cool ideas in it. And once you get into the farther into it and you start getting into the end of book 2 and you learn about the gangs of the ocean and what they're involved in.
Yeah.
And you learn more about the cult and what they're doing.
I think we can talk a little bit about what we've learned about the cult at this point, because you've reread some of this. You haven't reread all the way up to chapter 22, but you reread the cult part, which is they exist and they're trying to do something. Mm-hmm. And this guy has been posing as a lifeguard for most of book 2. Turns out to be the guru of the cult.
Yeah.
And people are just a woman who was a dolphin trainer who her instructor had tried to murder her twice already because he was going to marry her, and all of his family and him and her were in the cult together, but she was actually above him, and all of his family died. And these other like crazy reveals of like who was actually trying to kill who and things like that. And she's like at the bottom of the ocean, her foot like trapped in the rock while they're trying to save her. Like one of her trainer buddies is down there with like scuba gear, like trying to keep her alive. And she just, the guru is just walking around the bottom of the ocean with no scuba gear, talking normally. She just stands up, the bottom of her leg just slices off, and she just walks into this crazy undersea ruin, and she's just gone. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time you actually see the sea cult do anything, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Until now, the sea cult was something that's disappeared. It's supposed to be gone before the book even starts.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, something's going on, because the cult just disappeared. No one knows. Like everyone assumed it kind of, they all killed each other and things like that, and then Chaco shows up
Yep.
And that's where the series starts. And then, oh, no, the cult is still around. It's just been doing something else. And now it's back.
Yeah. And it does a good job of also, like, introducing them in a way that makes them terrifying. Because it's like, oh, we figured it out. These accidents are actually a murder attempt. And the murderer is actually this guy. And, like, they catch him and he's like, oh my God, please help me get away from them.
Yeah.
She's from the cult too. And, like, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I don't want to die. Oh, everything we thought we understood up until now was backwards. And also they're terrifying. And also we still know almost nothing.
Yeah. There's lots of hints of things to come in the first half.
Yeah.
And right as that half shows up, it's like, okay, you're going to start getting some answers, or at least you're going to start knowing more of the overall story.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good place for this review, because like the first half is very serious, also not serious, and then the second half gets, okay, we're going to start telling you what's really going on.
The first half is always hinting at it,
Yeah.
hinting at something that's going on, hinting about how the world works, hinting about different characters, and there's some amazing stuff that we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about Sayra, Hammerhead, Marlin, the Sea Dawn, and the more regular ocean gangs, because that's also a thing.
Yes.
And the interesting characters from that that do come back and are important.
Yep.
But the second half, okay, now we're going to stop messing around. The sea cult is now active again, and we're going to start actually going through what's going on. For all I've complained about this, like, it's really good. I love it a lot. There's so much in it that's so much fun, and it's very short.
Yeah. And
it is 5 books.
Yeah. And it's really well done. Like, the art is really good. It really conveys what it's trying to do. All the characters are unique and different. There's really hilarious just sight gags as well. It's done really well. And as you say, it's short. It's 5 volumes. And then you get the whole story. We've only talked about the first half.
And I really would say book 1 is one of the best parts of it. I think book 4 and 5 is the actual best, even though it starts getting very different. But that's just because I like the way the story goes. If you read book 1 and you're like, I'm not interested, you can stop there.
Yeah.
Because book 1 is probably, of this first half, is the best part. And then if you're like, I want to see more, you'll get more, and it will be good in book 2, and it will be good in book 3, and it'll be great in book 4 and 5. Book 1 is just such a great fun.
Yeah. If book 1 doesn't give you that critical point hook that we've talked about in other episodes, I don't think it's going to come up later. If the first book doesn't hook you, I don't think the rest will.
Yeah. Because even when it does get serious, it's still got that weirdness to it.
Yeah.
It just is less comedic.
Right. Yeah, this is one of those, if you're looking for a comedy story that's serious, this is probably the best you're going to get. But it doesn't go full comedy or full serious. So it's one of those, you're going to get something in the middle. And if you go in knowing that, I think it'll be good. But it's like, it's one of those hard-boiled cop and dolphin. What you expect can be very different depending on what you read about it.
If you think critically about that title, you should know how much you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
The title says it all. The cover says it all. It does not hide what it's going to be. It is a hard-boiled cop and a dolphin. The only part you would add to that, who are both police officers. Oh, and the dolphin is also a lieutenant.
Yeah.
The dolphin is the lieutenant.
Yeah. He's a bipedal lieutenant dolphin.
The human cop is a rank below him.
Yeah. And they are partners. And it would have been... It's one of those... It would have been, I think, more interesting if they did more like regular police work for a while, slowly building up to the shenanigans with the ocean. But I don't know if they had that much time to really cement what was going on. Because there's a really interesting and funny scene in the beginning where they're called to a location because someone did a hit and run. And it's like the first chapter.
It is the first chapter.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, they're doing like police work. And then there's a dolphin just standing here being a police officer. And it's like, because the people in the hit and run are out of town, in quotes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, there's a dolphin man. But all the locals are like, yeah, whatever. It's a thing.
Yep.
I think it would have been funnier if they, or not funnier, but if would have been a little more interesting if they did more like the regular stuff to kind of build their relationship that way. Because it very much went full force comedy in like the first few chapters of just ridiculousness. And then we went towards the cop drama side and then back and forth. But it's really good. I like it. It's just, I wish it went on longer, but I can see why people had issues with it.
Yeah, I think the same thing. We're definitely going to do a part 2 on this because I wanted to do I really want to talk about the second half, because the only thing I will disagree on that is I think this was the perfect length for this. I would almost cut chapters out and make this even shorter. And I think it would be even better, but it would just be like, I don't think this is a great chapter. We could probably just leave this one out.
Yeah.
As 5 books, I read it not knowing it was going to end in book 5. And there's probably some problems with it, the way it ends, because it does like come to an end pretty quickly. But I like how you don't know that's going to happen. And then all it is you realize they're not going to do the obvious thing and draw this out longer. This event is happening, and this is going to just be the end. And we're just going to solve it now. It's not going to do the normal thing of, all right, and then the bad guys get away, and we'll chase them for another 12 books, and there'll be these other things. It's just like, no, everything on the table now.
Yep.
And it's really refreshing. But that's going to be for part 2.
But check it out. If the first book doesn't hook you, it's up to you if you want to continue.
I think the one other thing I would say is also, if you don't want serious police drama, just get the first book.
Yes. Because
there is some serious police drama in it. There isn't all of that in it, but it's still much more of just being a comedy.
Yes.
And you can just sort of enjoy it as what it is.
Yeah. I recommend it. It's funny. It's hilarious at times.
It is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
It's flawed, but it's very funny. And so, yeah, with that, thank you everyone once again for listening to this episode of the Mudai Manga and Book Club podcast. If you want to follow us anywhere else or hear more from us about the show and episodes that are coming up or when they are released, you can find us on Blue Sky at Mudai Manga Book Club. You can find us on YouTube at Mudai Manga Book Club. And you can find us on Podbean and hopefully soon all, or at least most of the places where podcasts are. Damn it, Apple, let me make an account to put this on your thing. It's free. I have my email. I provided everything. Just let me make the account.
Yes.
Also at Mudai Manga Book Club. If you'd like to reach us directly with feedback or comments, questions, or anything else, you can also email us at mudaimangabookclub@gmail.com.
Yep.
If you're watching or listening on YouTube, we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe or leave comments. If you're listening through a podcast app, you want to leave us a review, or you can check the description there for all the other links to connect with us. But with that, this brings us to our final recommendation. Louie, do you have another recommendation this week for people to check out?
So because I was on vacation.
Yes.
And because this was a trendy thing around the holidays, we got Woobles, which is learn to crochet kits. So I don't know if you've seen these. This is definitely not sponsored or anything like that. So it's like my first crochet kit. So I got the Fred the Dinosaur Wooble, and so I've slowly been learning to crochet. It's interesting. It's fun. I haven't finished it yet. It's something you can just pick up and put down. It's neat because it gives you a video tutorial because I've never crocheted before, and it's just an interesting thing to kind of pass the time if you're just watching it, because you can kind of almost turn your brain off because you're just doing the same movements over and over again. It's not quite like knitting, but it's a similar idea. It's fun, interesting. I will let you know when I actually finish it, and I will have a Fred the Dinosaur.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I've seen these, and I've seen similar things to them, but I've never heard of them.
There was a ton of ads around Christmas for Woobles.
I have too many ad blockers, and I pay YouTube to not show me ads.
Yeah.
So
they're in like little packets, almost like dehydrated food packets, like shape thing.
Yeah, I've seen these in stores.
Yeah.
I've never... Yeah, they're cute little crochet kits. They make...
Yep.
I see pictures of them, and they're like, yeah, this is actually really cool. Nice.
Yeah, and it's kind of going the way of, not Funko, but the idea they're starting to get more licensed ones. I think they have a Harry Potter one, a Lord of the Rings one, that kind of thing. But like the beginner ones are all just like random little animals you can get.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
So what you recommending to check out?
I read a couple of books this week, so no, I'm not gonna recommend any books. So I'm gonna recommend a game. The one that I'm playing recently is called Beyond Citadel, but the original was called The Citadel. This is very different from Woobles. So imagine video games. Okay, think of Doom.
Okay.
But instead of crazy demonic monsters,
Yep.
they're armored soldiers like World War I era, but inside of their crazy armor is all anime girls.
Of course.
And everyone blows up into gross body parts when they die. And you are also playing as an anime girl. And there's a lot of hypersexualization of a lot of things with horrifying levels of violence. Also, you may or may not be trying to kill gods. Also, there's a lot of horrifying levels of violence and like body horror. Not like horror movie type, but Doom, like modern Doom, done in a more classic 2D pixel art / Doom style art, but Quake style gameplay version of this game with more mechanically complex guns. Beyond Citadel adds even more, but even the first one, it was a lot of the gun didn't auto reload. You had to reload. You had to cock the rifle. The gun could jam, so you'd have to. It wasn't just point and click. You had to have a couple extra keys to be like actually managing and controlling your firearm.
Okay.
Not something super complex, but not just click, 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 right click to aim, left click to shoot. Beyond Citadel adds more where you'll have to take magazines out, load bullets into the magazine, and put the magazine back in. And if you just throw the magazine away too quickly, you'll throw it on the ground and you'll lose it, and you don't get it back. But it's faster to reload that way, so you have to balance all of these other things. The gameplay is very good. The level of violence and screaming and horrifying sounds that the game will make at you as these anime girls die is kind of hard to handle. So this is not for the faint-hearted, but the new one, Beyond Citadel, just came out. The levels are fun, but visually kind of repetitive. But it's a nice little indie game. If you played older first-person shooters from like the 80s, late 80s, 90s, super early 2000s, it's got that feel with this really nice pixel graphics. The new one's still in early access. It just released January. Played a lot of the original one, The Citadel, which is complete, has been out for a year or two, is basically the same thing, but also narratively told in the same way and with the same level of emotional distraught of like Dark Souls. Because, of course, everything's in like weird descriptions and people talking about strange stuff. Little bit Lovecrafty gods that are evil, but it's also Christianity gods that are evil and angels and things like that. And while also having anime girls in skimpy outfits for everything, except when they're in like high-powered body armor. It's fun if you can get past the violence, which is not for everyone. Demos exist. The Citadel has a demo. Beyond Citadel, the sequel, there was a demo. It's not on Steam anymore, but if you really look for it, you can get it. Beyond Citadel is just basically more of the same, but better. Try the first one. If you like it, you'll probably like the second one because it's just improved. The early access, there's still some visual problems, but gunplay-wise and level-wise, they're still kind of very all the levels are still similar looking, but they're more and interesting.
I have seen this before, and haven't had a chance to check it out, but it looks very much, if you like Doom, it's that style of game.
It's that style of game.
Original Doom.
Early Doom, Doom 2.
Yeah.
It plays more like Quake with the very standard modern mouse and keyboard first-person shooter style.
Yeah.
But the violence and the sexuality is also... The sexuality is more of just there, and the violence is oppressive. So be prepared for that. It's very violent, but it's also very fun. And it's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so with that is the end of the episode. as for next week, we will be covering...
We'll be covering Eden Zero's chapter 1 through 11, which is technically 2 arcs, but it's the beginning and it's the end of the Norma arc.
Yep.
Planet Norma. So we'll be talking about that.
It's going to be good.
Yes, it will be very good because it's a cool story.
It's pretty good. I would know. I read 24 books in about 2 days.
Yeah, we won't get up that far, but yeah.
We won't get that far, no. Don't worry.
But yes, we'll do Eden Zero, chapter 1 to 11.
With that, everyone, have a good night. See you next time.
Bye.
Peace. No, I read Eden 07 to 30. Much more reasonable. Dude, I've read all around New Manga to like 5 to 9, between 6 and 9 tonight. He just never has the power behind it because he's not that strong.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
I'd like to thank you all very much for listening to this episode of the... Oh, wait, no.
So that was a whole episode.
So, did you get to the panty thief? He gets knocked off by a dugong while he's on the docks while wearing underwear on his head, and drawers is another word for underwear. Death by dugong on the docks with the drawers. He doesn't die, but...